Sorry, YouTube, I didn't have my cap on my lens there. Okay, while we're waiting, I'd love to hear where you're from and how old your kids are. I am in Vancouver and my kids are 33 and 28. And I've got a grandchild on the way. Brenda Hunt, you've been here before. Okay, so I'm a little bit early tonight. I don't know why, I just thought I'll get on early. I've had a very efficient day. Did you ever have one of those days you're just like killing it? It's super efficient. I get like one of those a year. Anyway, today was one of those. So, where are you from and how old are your children? I'm also on YouTube. These lives are saved on YouTube. Not a mother, but have group homes. Wow. I bet that's a lot of work. I can just imagine. No, I can't. Never done it. I can't imagine. Good for you. Okay. And group homes can mean many different things. So, yeah. Calgary, 13 months and a baby on the way. Ooh, you're going to be very, very busy. I think that toddler and newborn is one of the most emotionally and physically draining times, but it has its beautiful moments too. But yeah, it can be very physically draining, especially I think, because you get your own little sleep and you got a toddler to chase around after. So, so where are you from and how old are your kids? Whoops, why did I do that? Sorry. I had an alarm to remind me to do this live, but I was already on here. Pennsylvania, 14-year-old. You're right in the thick of it. Teenagers are my favorite age. Newborns and teenagers are my two favorite ages. Don't ask why. They're so different. I don't know why. They just are. I find newborns fascinating. They're all scrunchy and it's like, what's in there? I'm just like looking at them like, what's in there? With teenagers, you already know. You get a pretty good idea what's in there by that time. Okay, so let's just get going. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go in the link above, you'll see everything I've got to offer. It's just a bullet point form of everything on my website. And my website's been updated if you want to check that out too. But the link above has everything that I've got on there. I just did a video today, 4 annoying traits kids are born with or not born with. And someone made a comment just now and they said, my kid has all 4. So anyway, if you're interested in that video, you can check that out. The other videos I did today was how to stop toddlers from climbing, which was one of the things that they either do or they don't, and how to stop them from hitting and biting, which is another thing that they either do or they don't. The other 2 were runners when they run away from you, and of course, tantrums. 7-year-old and night terrors. Yeah, night terrors are, I'll be honest, I don't really know what they are. Like, I've heard that they're not a nightmare. They just wake up and they're terrified. So I don't quite know what that is. I don't know what to say to you, but I have had clients who've had that. And what I recommend they do is they get those sound machines, and kids are less likely to wake up with night terrors if they have that sound machine going, evidently. You know what I mean? The background sound, the waves or whatever. Don't use an Alexa because the kids will even in their sleep, they can call out to the Alexa. Oh, shoot, I shouldn't say anything. She's always listening. She's such an eavesdropper. Sometimes my clients have kids named that. So it's quite frustrating. So we have to change the name when I'm talking about the child. Okay. But yeah, try the sound machine, see if that helps. And also some kids, I don't know why, but I can't stand having a fan on me when I'm sleeping. But some kids also like fans. Anything that sort of, stimulates their brain or whatever, or not stimulates it, but calms it down. Sometimes fans, they make a bit of a noise. And so yeah, I've suggested a few different things. Those are a couple things that help. Also, if they do wake up, because night terrors, they usually have them before they wake up. And then when they do wake up, you can have those galaxy lights going in their bedroom where it looks like that can also be calming. So yeah, night terrors are when they wake up but are still stuck in a nightmare. Yeah, so they have the nightmare while they're still asleep, and then they wake up and they're still in it. Yeah. Yeah, I've just offered the only suggestions I know how because I don't know if there's any cure for it. I'll tell you, I had a nightmare the other night. It wasn't scary at all, really, but I was having a really rough sleep, and sometimes I do. I'm not a great sleeper. And I go to the gym every morning, and so I turned up to my gym. This is my nightmare. Turned up to my gym, and it was all dark inside, and I could barely see the person at the front desk. And I said, "What's going on?" They said, "The electricity's out, so we're closed down." And I said, "But I can hear people working out in there, and it sounds like they're all talking and partying." Like no one ever talks in a gym. Like I was missing out on a party. And I said, "Yeah, but there's people in there." And she goes, "That's only for people with heightened sense of vision. And only they're allowed in. You're not allowed." And she goes, and then she said to me, "Lisa, do you have a heightened sense of vision?" And I went, "No." And I had to walk home. So it wasn't a night terror, but it was just such a frustrating dream because it's hard getting. I get up really early to go to the gym and then go all the way there and you can't even get in. So that was my nightmare. Not a bad one, but anyway. Okay, Kayla, you have to let them go through it alone. You make them more terrified when you appear. Not necessarily so, I've heard. If you're a professional about that, maybe you know better than I do. But oftentimes you go in there, but you make your presence known. And sometimes I'll have parents go in and they'll sing a song, something that's really happy and brings out, it kind of wakes them up. So, okay, some kids on here. Okay, how can I get my 8-month-old to crawl? Must be your first, because generally, when you have subsequent kids, you're thrilled when they're slow to do everything. So yeah, don't be in a rush. They'll crawl at their own pace. I think my daughter kind of got up and crawled. My son was more of the creeper. He did that, the army crawl. He did that more. But yeah, they'll in their own time. I'm assuming, unless you're really concerned, then go to the doctor. Say I'm worried. But generally, they all develop at different levels. There's all these guidelines that they're supposed to meet. But yeah, they're not always, it's not law. Well, I don't know the age. You have to put the age. You're talking about putting your daughter to bed, but I don't know how old. Is she 2? Is she 8? I don't know how old she is. So it'd be a different answer. Okay. Stay at home. Mom here, 3-year-old scream cries when my husband comes home to do bath, etc. He's an excellent father, by the way. Oh, now she's 3. That's manipulative, I would say. It's like she wants mom to do the bath, or sometimes they just want to be in control. So yeah, I don't know what that is. Is she trying to manipulate you because she wants you to give her a bath, or just she likes to be in charge? In other words, when she starts crying, how do you guys react? Oh, do you kind of get in panic mode? Then you're feeding it. If you just go, oh, whatever, dad's going to give you a bath tonight, and then just ignore her, kind of let her scream through it, and then see how it goes. So I don't know why she's doing it. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you about. 2 years old, and she won't let me put her back down, but mom can do it in 5 seconds. Yeah, it just depends. Like, watch what mom does and then copy it. Sometimes when they're little, they just want one parent more than the other. They're going to go up and down with that. Usually it's the one who spends the most time with them that is bedtime soothing. Like, when they're sick, they want that one. When they go to bed, they want that one. It's the one who tends to spend the most time with them when they're little. How to let go and not react to bad behaviors, moods. Well, so not to react. But that's like asking me, I'm on a diet. How do I not eat cake? You just don't do it. I mean, I can't help you with that. You see what I mean? I can only tell you what to do. I can't tell you how to get yourself to do it. Do you understand that? It's like dieting. How do I not eat that cake that's right in front of me? Well, I don't know. You don't do it. So yeah, you just don't react. Yeah, that kind of stuff, it feeds all that bad behavior. You know that. That's why you're asking that. You know darn well that if you react to that stuff, it's feeding it. And the kids know it. Gee, I hate the lighting on YouTube. I look like a ghost. I have all sorts of lighting kits and everything. Here, let me try this thing. God, geez, it's so bright, though. Let me see. It's a little bit better, maybe. It's not great, though. Anyway, sorry about that. I'm also on YouTube. Okay. 20-month-old hitting mom and dad. I just did a video on that today. Yeah, how to stop toddlers from hitting and biting. You might want to check out that video. I also have a mini course on that. But yeah, toddlers are under 3 years old, and they are all about actions. They're consistent corrective actions. You know, talking about your feelings, their feelings to a toddler. I know it's trendy right now. I'd sure like to meet the person who came up with that. Because, yeah, they must be going, wow, people actually fell for that. Like, it's just so ridiculous. Toddlers are not about mini therapy sessions. They're all about actions. So, yeah, consistent corrective actions will stop that. But it takes time. It's not going to happen overnight, okay? It has to be consistent. When I say consistent, you got to catch them 10 times out of 10, not 9 out of 10. Kids always remember the one time you made a mistake. They just do. I remember my son used to say, remember the time you did this? Remember the time? And it was always the stuff I messed up. Remember the time you made that mistake? And he said, what about all the stuff I did right? And he went, what? It's more fun to remember the stuff I did wrong. There we go. You already answered your question here. If mom isn't home, I can get her down, but never if mom is home. Mom is going on it. Yeah. That's manipulation. So when there's no option to scream and get mom to do it, then she's okay with you doing it. It's just manipulation. She's the 3-year-old, right? Yeah, they know what they're doing. It's pure manipulation. Someone was saying that children are incapable of manipulating until they're 5 or 6. That's garbage. They can manipulate all right. They can do that at almost, I'd say about 16 to 18 months. You can really see that. They'll start to figure you out and go, huh. If I just go, or if I throw something on the floor, you'll pick it up. Think about it. You get a baby to throw stuff on the floor and you pick it up. They throw it on the floor. They're manipulating you. They know that they can get you to do what you don't want to be doing. That's what manipulation is. So, yeah. Okay. So I'm having a hard time reading it because the writing is in white and my top is in white. So I'm going to spread my hair out a bit more because it makes the letters... makes the words a bit easier to read. Isn't that crazy? Wait a minute, I'm going to pull all my hair forward. There we go, I can read. Okay, 3.5-year-old doesn't listen and stomps feet and raspberries when she gets mad. So that's on her. We never address attitude. It's a tell. It says that you're not a leader and she doesn't respect you. So remember, we're never fixing kids. We're fixing and teaching parents here. Work on your leadership skills. I have a whole course on that, how to be a leader in 5 weeks. It'll teach you all that, or you can just start with the behavior board, which is completely free if you want. Or do you want to go to the top level? That's hiring me for coaching. But I would suggest the course over coaching if that's all she's doing, because it goes into so many different things throughout the years, right? But yeah, I never address attitude, because that if a kid has a bad attitude with me, this is what I do. I go, what am I missing here? What am I doing wrong? Because I know it's me. Their attitude is me. It's my fault. Oh, God, that's so cute. Just relayed to husband about filing nails during tantrum, and he loved it and will be doing it. That's when they're having a tantrum. It's very important that you stay near them. You don't go on the phone. You don't talk to people. You want them to see you waiting for that tantrum to end. It's like you're in a lineup somewhere. You just couldn't be more bored. You're bored out of your mind. You're just like filing your nails or waiting. As soon as they finished having the tantrum, oh, you all done? Okay, let's get going. You see, it's like that. It's the best way to deal with it. Because I've worked with hundreds of kids. I've dealt with hundreds of tantrums, and it's the best way to deal with it. When you get good at this, I'm going to read out my list here. Someone's helped me with all this stuff. You guys have helped me with so much stuff. What do I say? Oh, what have I got? Oh, yeah. When you get good at ignoring tantrums, you are decreasing the duration, intensity, and frequency. Okay? You're not going to see results right away. That actually, if you have a habit of giving attention to a tantrum, which is feeding it, if you give attention to a tantrum, they're going to get worse before they get better, because they're going to think, oh, I'm just going to have to up it to get that attention going again. Because attention says that they're in control, guaranteed. And they know it. They don't necessarily think it through, but they get it. Oh, wait a minute, I'm in control. When I have a tantrum, I'm in control. They're afraid of me. Never be afraid of a scene, a tantrum, a fit, or anything with a kid, because behind every scene is a lesson. And that also is your opportunity to exercise your leadership. Whenever I was looking after kids, if they had a fit around me or started getting all snarky, I was like this, because I thought, there's my opportunity to exercise my leadership. I know what I'm doing. You think you can get away with that with me? No. And they learn really quick, because I don't have history with them. If it's someone else's kid, I don't have history. So they learn like that fast that I don't take any crap. There's no way I would feed a tantrum. Never. Been talking about you and your methods for weeks, if not months now. Changed our lives. Oh, thanks so much for that. I really appreciate that. It's just common sense, though, isn't it? Once you understand kids, it's just common sense. Because, no, I won't get into all the psychology behind it, but they're still human beings just like we are. Think about how you would feel if you were put in timeout. Think about if you didn't understand the English language very well and someone's discussing their feelings with me and you don't give a crap about their feelings anyway because you're 2 years old. You see, like, think about it. It's just, you just got to understand their level of development. Once you understand where they're at, then you treat them like you would want to be treated in that same. Like, I always think I can really easily put myself in a kid's shoes, very easily. 3 years old. Okay, wait a minute. I remember 3. Yeah, okay, 3. So then I think, now, how would I feel if this was done, that was done? So I'm never doing it from an intelligent perspective. I'm doing it from a relativity perspective. Like, what I mean is I'm not really thinking it through. I'm just going, yeah, I know how kids feel at 3 years old. I know how they feel at 5.5. I know how they feel at 17. I know how I can always sort of go back to that age. And because I work with hundreds of kids too. So I'm always trying to figure out where they're at. And I deal with them in their world, not ours. When you're having those mini therapy sessions with toddlers, that's your world. Has nothing to do with the toddler. That's all about you're serving yourself is all you're doing. That was invented for moms to make themselves feel good. It has nothing to do with the toddler. Nothing. So yeah, you got to put yourself in their shoes. You understand them, and then think, how would I feel if I was 3.5? What would work with me? That's how I did it. But anyway. I remember I started volunteering in daycare centers when I was 11 years old. Like, who does that, right? It's weird. Anyway, I was really good at getting respect with kids. And then daycare ladies kept asking me, how are you doing that? You're fun and they listen to you. I didn't know how to answer that, but I was a leader. You know what I'd do? I would study them. I'd watch them like a hawk, and I just figured them out. I was just always studying them. I was always trying to figure them out. And so, yeah, I wasn't trying to outsmart them. I was trying to get into their world and figuring out what they would need. So anyway, that's enough of that. Okay. Daughter is 4 and no accidents anywhere else but when she's with me. She wets only. Okay, you might have to hire me for that because I don't know what your relationship is like. I don't know what your parenting style is like. And that's what it would come down to. So yeah, I don't know. You'd have to hire me so I'd have to assess that situation. So if you want to hire me, that's in the link above there. Okay, how do I get my toddler ready for his baby brother to be born? I get asked that pretty much every day on these lives. You don't. How could you possibly prepare a toddler for that? You couldn't prepare yourself. Could you prepare yourself for what it's like to have your first child? How can you prepare a toddler what it's like to have to share their whole world with this screaming, smelly little thing, that never leaves? You can't. What I'm saying is you can't. They will eventually learn. Some of them do just fine. They just completely ignore the baby. And others go after them, throw them on the floor when you're not looking. So yeah, keep an eye on that newborn. Oh, you're asking about your students. I don't discuss that. I only talk about parenting. Yeah, because I couldn't be a teacher, a daycare worker, a child psychologist, but a lot of those people hire me because parenting's different. It's personal. I only teach that. A lot of it does cross over, but I don't talk in those terms. I don't talk about, here's what you do with someone else's kid. I don't do that. But a huge portion of my clients don't even have kids and have hired me to help me with that. And I still talk as if they're their kids because I don't discuss teaching or anything. I stay in my lane. You have to tell me the ages, by the way, about the screaming at her brother. I'd need to know the ages there. But write the whole question again and then put the age because it's hard for me to go back. My 18-month-old doesn't say any words. Speech therapy. I can't make that call. I don't know. But I wouldn't worry. If they were 18, I'd be quite happy. It's like they're not walking and talking yet. Yippee! Unless you're really worried about them, go to a pediatrician and ask their advice. They all have these milestones that everyone says this is what they should be doing at this age, that they all develop at different stages. I knew someone who never walked or talked till she was 3 years old. And then she got up, walked perfectly, and talked in full sentences. She just was in no rush, very laid back, easygoing. But she had a younger brother. He was 2 years younger, and he was hyperactive. He was walking and talking like really little. And she would just grunt and point to something, and he would get her whatever she wanted. So she was just extremely laid back. She was fine. The connection, that happens sometimes, but it hasn't been me so far because people say it could be me, but nothing else is glitching here, so it might not be me. My 2-year-old won't listen to anything. Help. No, they're not listening. 2-year-olds are not listening to you. It's all about actions with 2-year-olds, okay? So I do have some courses on 2-year-olds if you're interested, but yeah, they don't listen to you. They're about consistent corrective actions. I know you're probably talking about feelings and what you want from them and everything. It's absolutely ridiculous. They're not listening. They are watching you, and they only relate to actions. So if you want to correct some behavior, do consistent corrective actions because they learn through repetition. 7-year-old talks back, what can I do? Work on yourself. That's a tell. It means that you're not a leader. If they're talking back, that's on you. You've taught them that. Because when you're a leader, they don't do that. They just would never do that. The only time my kids ever really gave me any sass was when my son was 5 years old. And he had been at a friend's house, and he picked this up over there, obviously. He came home, and he said to me, he was 5 years old, he said to me, I'm bored, in that snotty tone. Like he'd never spoken to me like that before. And I instantly went like this. And he went, no, never mind, never mind. And I went, oh, is my precious angel bored? And he thought, oh, geez, I sure messed up here. Too late. I said, come with mommy. I want to make sure, I don't want you to be bored. That upsets mommy. And he's like going like this, no. So I took him in the laundry room, filled up a mop bucket, and gave him a mop. He was never bored again. And, but yeah, so if you're a leader, they just don't talk to you like that. So work on yourself. We're never fixing kids here. They're just reacting to your leadership or lack of. That's it. Their behavior is 100% a direct result of your parenting. So whatever they're doing, you've taught them to do that. That's just the way it is. When you're a leader that you lead, they will follow. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. So yeah, that's all I teach here is leadership. I have a full course on that if you're interested. It's the boot camp course. Or you can hire me if you want, but that's all in the link above. But I just teach leadership here. When you're a good leader, now the whole focus on leadership, this is the way I look at it, is it's about making them feel good about themselves, not feel good about you. When they feel good about themselves when they're around you, because you're bringing out the best in them, you're guiding them to make good choices, you're having fun with them, they know they're enjoyed, not just you're spending time with them, but you actually enjoy their company, all that good stuff, their self-esteem goes up, you're the cause of that, and then they look up to you. They want to please you. You become a mentor. You can be a friend and a buddy and a mentor to your children. That's really what you want. So that's what this is all about. You build them up. You want them to feel good about themselves. And then they will feel good about you also. But your goal is to make them feel good about themselves. That was what I did. I used to mentor troubled teens. That's all I focused on was their self-esteem. That's all I focused on. And because I was the source of them liking themselves, they treated me beautifully because I made them feel good about themselves. Think about the power in that. When you enjoy someone, you feel great about yourself when you're around them. Don't you treat them well? You know what I mean? Like, would you ever be cheeky to them or snotty to them? No. Yeah, sorry, I know it hurts, but this is what I do. I don't hurt people on purpose, but I just have to spin the truth here. It's true. So you're here because you want help. So that's the best advice I can give you is work on your leadership skills. I have that whole course. It's a boot camp on it. I'm not very good at filtering. I just says it like it is because that's how I like to be treated. Like if I've hired people to help me with stuff, I just say it like it is. Like my accountant says, you suck at all this. We all have our strengths, right? And our weaknesses. I don't like sugarcoating anything. I don't like it done to me either. I think it's patronizing. I want to know the truth. I remember I went to Weight Watchers years ago after I had my daughter, and they were just sugarcoating. They never actually said what was happening. And I put my hand up and I said, why are none of us saying we're fat? And I just said, and they were all like, oh, we don't talk like that. Who do you think went in there and had a goal and was the only one that was out of there who'd lost all the weight like that? Because I says it like it is. I want results. I don't want to be coddled and you know, and oh, I hate all that stuff. Says it like it is. I like the truth. When you're looking for help, I want the truth. Okay. I'm getting old and saggy. I don't want someone in my life saying, by the way, Lisa, you're old and saggy. Not that kind of truth. But how is that productive or helpful? But you know what I'm saying. My kids come back from my ex's house so dysregulated. Any advice? It is tough. I mean, I went through all that too. And it is tough. As time goes on, it gets easier. That's all I can tell you. But that's not a TikTok answer. You would need to hire me, and then we could possibly come up with some ideas. But yeah, so that's not a quick TikTok answer. I don't know what your house is like. I don't know what your ex's house is like. I don't know how long each of you have the kids. There's just too many variables in there. So I would have to assess the situation before I could even start to give you any advice on that. I've been divorced. I know there's a transition phase, but what made it quite smooth for my kids overall, I mean, there's always that initial transition. Yes, it's hard initially, but we always got along. We always put the kids first, always, always, always. So they never saw us fight before or after. We didn't really do that anyway. So, but yeah, we're not fighters really. But anyway, so yeah. Oh, I got a question here on YouTube. So I know my screen, my phone, probably my camera's up there. But anyway, so I got to read this. Hi, just joined. Wanted tips on getting my toddler into her own room. We've been trying for weeks and not being consistent. Yeah, okay. I'm going to give you just a synopsis of bedtime battles. There's two sort of things to bedtime. One is the actual routine. It takes about an hour. So you have the bath and you read to them for 20 minutes. And then you say, okay, good night, turn the lights out, and then you leave. The first part is the routine. The second part is keeping them in bed. Then you say to them, good night, stay in bed, I love you, and then you leave the room. The first time they get out of bed, you say, I said it's bedtime, and you put them back in bed. The second time they get out of bed, you say, bedtime, put them back in bed. They may be kicking and screaming, and only one body part even touches the mattress, but that's all you have to do. Just put them on their bed, and then you walk away. Don't let them get past the bedroom door, though. You don't want it to turn into a game of chase. So then every time after that, so the third and the 30th or the 300th time they get out of bed, you don't look at them, you don't talk to them. You move slowly, you're very calm, and you just pick them up and you put them back in bed. You're not looking at them or talking to them. It's like you're a robot. They will have been like, who's going to tire out quicker, a 2-year-old or you? Like you should be able to do that. Anyway, here's what my clients tell me about bedtime battles. They say it was one night of sheer hell. All they did was curse me out the whole time, and then the kids never got up again. Like that, they only got up that one night. And the worse that night is, the less likely they are to get up again because they think, wow, you know what you're doing. They just do. How can I make her feel good about herself? She is 7. Well, you're talking about self-esteem. Oh my God, that's a big question. How do you make kids feel good about themselves? I would say, well, become a really good listener. You don't tell them what to do. So like you have, so like when they come to you and with a problem, you say, well, I don't know, let's figure it out together. So you're empowering them. And you enjoy them. Spend time in their world, playing with them and enjoying them every single day. It could be 5 minutes. It could be 5 hours. I don't know. But you want to enjoy them in their world. You don't go to the nail salon with a 3-year-old and bond with them. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. So you enter their world and enjoy them. Being enjoyed it's underrated with kids. You know, yeah, I do enjoy them. I took them to the play center. I watched them there for hours. That's not what I'm talking about. Were you there? I'd be going in. Well, I'd be right in there with the kids. You know, you got to play with them in their world. So it makes them feel good about themselves if you enjoy their company. It's kind of hard to explain, but that's actually a big challenge with a lot of my clients. They say, well, I have no interest in Lego or video games. So, well, let's get to work. We're going to find something that you like. Oh God, this was so cute. There was this client, and she said she didn't like doing anything that the kids did. So she just wasn't, I have a lot of inner child in me, so it's easy for me because I'm goofy. But most parents aren't as goofy as I am, so it's more of a challenge for them. They say, I don't like anything silly, whereas I love all that stuff. So anyway, and I'm 62. You know, there's not a lot of people who are receptive to a 62-year-old silly person. But anyway, that's why I love being around kids. So anyway, So what she did was I said, you have to, when you yell, so the rule was for her on the behavior board, that's free up above in my link. The behavior board has a rule and a consequence for every member of the family, 3 years old and up. Her rule was no yelling. So I always say, make sure that you yell so that you have to have a consequence. Her consequence was she had to play Lego with her son for 10 minutes. That was her consequence. And I know a lot of parents say, but you mean that's playing with them as punishment? Not one kid, not ever, has ever complained about that. They're just so thrilled the parents are going to be doing that with them, playing Lego for 10 minutes. Not one kid in 17 years of coaching has ever complained. You mean playing with me is punishment? Not one. I would have actually thought they would have, but they're just so thrilled that you're going to spend time with them. Anyway, so I said to her, she came back the next week and she was crying. And I said, what is it? And she goes, I yelled and I had to play with him for 10 minutes. And she goes, it lasted for 3 hours. She'd never sat down on the ground and played with him before. And he was, I don't know, 7 or 8 or something. And she said, I never enjoyed, and then his behavior just got better and better and better. Like everything started falling into place after that. But yeah, so enjoy them. Find a way to enjoy them, because the discipline is a tiny part of parenting. I never did that with my kids past the age of 3.5. They were self-disciplined. They just made good choices because they knew if they didn't, mom would come in and say, and mom knew how to take care of business, my son would say. And so why would they, be cheeky or anything? They just wouldn't. But they were enjoyed. They were wallowed in. And that's a big part of this. If you don't enjoy them and find joy in them and play with them in their world, you want to connect with them. And that makes them feel good about themselves. It's like if you think you're being funny, aren't you drawn to the person who laughs at your jokes? You know what I'm saying? Like the one that makes you feel good about yourself. Aren't you drawn to people who make you feel good about yourself? That's what this is all about. It's connecting with your kids, making them feel good about themselves. And then they'll do anything for you. They want to please you. And then when they're teenagers, they just won't want to disappoint you. There's power in this, because I had to learn these extra skills to get respect, because when I was working with kids, I had nothing to take away. I couldn't take away TV or anything. I was just seeing them once a week in a classroom, So I had to figure this all out. And I thought, oh, I know. If I really connect with them, I become like a mentor, and they'd be embarrassed to act out around me because they want to please me. And that's the leadership. That's where I started all this. I figured that out. Anyway, it works. It just works. Oh, the whooshing sound. Sorry, I've always got stuff going on. That's my dishwasher. I actually have a separate room. It's a beautiful room, too. It's got gorgeous views of the city and everything. And that could be an office, but I like to be in the center of the action. My office is right in the center of my living room, dining room, kitchen. But I have a separate room I don't like to use for office. Isn't that weird? I like to be where everything's happening. Yeah, the dishwasher keeps going on though. Okay. I'm 66, raising teenagers. I taught them how to play Monopoly and Battleship. Yeah, good for you. So you play with them. You enjoy them. You enjoy their company. I'm going to talk about, I'll tell you what happened with my son. My son and I were best buddies. He was like, we just talked about everything. We talk all the time, like best buddies. He was 14. And every single morning I'd get up and I'd go, morning, sweetie. And he'd turn around and go, morning, mom. Like I just had a blast. He was so much fun. And then he turned 15. And I got up it was just like this. I got up one morning, I go, morning, sweet. By the way, I'm a morning person. Morning, sweetie. And he turned around and he went, morning, mom. His voice had changed and his whole face looked, he was turning into a man. And I thought, and he wasn't chatting with me like he used to, like a girlfriend. He was turning into a man, right? It was really bizarre. Anyway, well, it wasn't, but I wasn't ready for it. It just sort of happened like that. Anyway, so I thought, how am I going to bond with this kid? We got nothing in common. All he wanted to do was play video games, and he loved heavy metal music. And so I thought, I don't like either of those things. So I thought, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to, spend more time with him? We had a good relationship, but I wanted that buddy stuff back, right? So I thought, what am I going to do here? So I became furniture. You know what I did? I went down the rec room where he had his gaming set up, and I had a magazine with me. And I literally just sat down on the couch beside him and just went through my magazine. I just sat there. I didn't talk to him. I didn't want to bother him during his game. I just sat there like that. Next thing you know, he's talking to me about the game. Then next thing you know, he's handing me a controller. Then and I didn't like the game he was playing. And then he'd find me games that I liked. And then, that's how we bonded. I entered his world, but I was there. I made myself available and pretty obvious. And then, but I waited till I was invited. I didn't force myself on him. Then he started making playlists of music that I actually ended up liking, like heavy metal music. And but I don't pretend. Like I'd say, no, I hate that, hate that, hate that. Oh yeah, I kind of like that. You know what became my favorite album? And I had to put all the windows up and close the sunroof in the minivan before I played it, was NWA's Greatest Hits. You can look it up. I can't say what it is, but anyway, because of my son, my taste in music changed. So you got to open yourself up to change when you're raising kids, because if you're not learning and growing through them, letting them teach you a lot of different things, you're missing out. Anyway, I'll tell you a funny story. We were playing this racing game on the PlayStation, and I'm really bad at that. I can't get perspective when you're going around a corner. I just can't do it. So I'm always off cliffs, going on the guardrails. I'm upside down on the roof. So anyway, I just couldn't do it. So, and he goes to the bathroom, and I've still got a controller in my hand, and I can't believe it. I'm going around the track, and it's perfect. It's like, oh my God, I finally nailed it, right? I know what I'm doing. I'm like this. And I'm screaming out to my son, you should see what I'm doing. You wouldn't believe it. I'm nailing it. Look, whoa, and he comes back and he goes, what are you talking about? And I said, look, I just did. Look at what I'm doing. And he goes, Mom, that's my replay. He put on his replay when he went to the bathroom. I thought I was doing it. So a huge portion of our bonding was him laughing at me. And that's how kids bond together too. They laugh at Mom. So anyway, a few months later, he had some friends over, and I'd forgotten about this, what that happened. And he had told his friends, he said, watch this. And he said, look, Mom's getting really good at this game. And he put on a replay again, and I thought I was doing it again. So dumb once, dumb twice. Like, you'd think I would have figured that one out. But anyway, that's how I connected with him again. Glad I drive better in a real car. Yeah. Oh my God, that was horrible. We did find Guitar Hero. I wasn't horrendous at it. Wasn't good at it. I'm never good at any of those. Okay. They'll want to please, not disappoint. Yeah, they want to please you when they're younger, and they don't want to disappoint you when they're teenagers, because you're like a mentor to them. You're not like this holier than thou. It's just that they like you. They like themselves when they're with you. You make them feel good. They would be humiliated to disappoint you. Like if my son used to say, if my mom ever whispers, run. Like if they ever said anything I didn't like or anything, I would just go, excuse me? Like, really? And that would be all it would take. So, yeah. And they would have been embarrassed. No, sorry, Mom. Sorry. But I was the same. If I messed up and I was late I hate it when people are late. It's a real pet peeve of mine. So anyway, if I was late for something, no matter what kind of reason I had, if I was late for something, which is very rare, my kids would look at each other like this, because they knew. And I'd say, what do you want? Because I made amends too. If I messed up, I did something for them. I'd say, what do you want? And then they'd come up with something. They usually had a plan. So you got to be accountable too. You don't want obedient little soldiers here. That's not what this is all about. It's about kids with high self-esteem who make good choices, and they're self-disciplined. Discipline gets a bad rap as if it's bad, but then we talk about it self-discipline like it's wonderful, the best thing in the world. It doesn't make any sense. You discipline them so they will learn self-discipline. Adults without self-discipline often were never disciplined as kids because they didn't learn discipline, right? It's you teach it to them, and then they have it. They teach it to them. They're self-disciplining. My kids were self-disciplining for about 3.5 to 4 years old. I don't remember ever telling them to go to bed, do their homework, nothing. They just did what they had to do. There was no question. What a behavior board would look like. Well, the behavior board, it's explained up in the link about there. But it's just a big bulletin board, or usually people buy a poster board at the dollar store, like 50 cents or $1 for 2 of them. And you just put down rules and consequences for everybody. So you put down rules, Mom, Dad, Johnny, Sally, and then consequences, Mom, Dad, Johnny, Sally. And it explains in the behavior board how you do it. Slap it up on a high traffic area and point and refer to it all the time. Treat it like law, family law. You are just focusing on one rule for everybody per week, different rules for everybody, unless the kids have the same problem or both parents yell. Yelling, it's always no yelling if parents yell. And if the kids hit, it's always no hitting for them. Those are the 2 things. They're non-negotiable. But with teenagers, it's very different. Anyway, teenagers are, you discipline young children to get respect. With teenagers, you've got to connect with them and get respect before you even consider disciplining them. So yeah, that's usually coaching. How do you stop a 2-year-old from spitting? It's just consistent corrective action. So every single time she spits or whatever, remove her from the fun, remove the fun from her every single time. You can't do it 9 times out of 10. You have to do it 10 times out of 10. Consistent corrective actions, and they will eventually learn. That's not something I would ignore. A lot of stuff I ignore, but I would not ignore spitting because that's more in the violent kind of area. Like it's something you really want to stop. It's like I wouldn't ignore if they put poop on the wall either. So. Okay, well, I'm going to tell you exactly why this is. My son is 5 and my daughter's almost 3. They listen very well at home, but when we go out, they don't. That's because you're a different parent when you go out. That's exactly what it is. I was 100% the exact same mother, no matter where we were, who we were with, what we were doing. I was 100% predictable. So that's a tell. It means that you're a different parent when you're out. You're too embarrassed to discipline when you're out, potentially. And you're not a real leader, because when you're a really strong, calm leader, they're the same everywhere. They just are. But leaders are consistent. So you got to work on your leadership skills. I can't answer that. Sorry, some things like it's stuck with your child's other. Yeah, I can't answer that. How can I encourage independent play for my toddler? He's quite clingy with me at home. My daughter was more like that, but she was a super easy kid. But she just wanted to be around me all the time. And what I did was I would start the play with her, and then I would say, oh, I got to go and do something. And then I'd just go and sit and read a magazine or something, and she couldn't see me. But yeah, I would start the play with her and then say, oh, I got to go get the stove or whatever. And the next thing you know, she'd be playing on her own. But this is the difference between my 2 kids. My son had tantrums, but he was overall a pretty easy kid. Neither of them was super active. They were what you would call on the easier side. But anyway, my daughter was the easiest kid in the whole world. Never had tantrums, just super. But she liked to be around mom all the time. That was her thing. She liked to be with mom all the time. They were so different in this way. I had a sewing room set up, and it was a full bedroom, and I had the gate across the door because the sewing room was a very dangerous area for kids, right? Scissors, pins, everything. And my son would bring all of his toys when he was little up to the gate, and and I was right there, like probably 2 feet away. And anyway, so he'd play and chat and chat and chat, and he'd play with me quite happily on the other side of the gate. My daughter would sit at the gate like this. She wasn't a crier, but she just looked sad. I was 2 feet away, but she didn't like the gate between us. So then I realized she was such an easy little kid. I just took the gate off and I just let her sit, and I said, no, you just sit there and you can play. Happy as anything with no gate. But she was probably even further away from me when she was inside the room because I had a corner set up for her than she was with the gate. She didn't like that gate between mom and her. But she didn't cry. She was very difficult to sew or do anything when you got a kid with a frown because she was such a sweet, easy little kid. I'm feeling the change with my second for sure. Yeah, they're all different. I parented my kids quite differently. My rules were the same, but my son's more like me in a lot of ways. We're very gregarious, we tend to speak before we think. And also we like teasing and all that kind of stuff. My daughter's the exact opposite. She's very cautious. She thinks before she speaks. She doesn't like teasing. But my son and I, like when he was growing up, I used to hide under his bed and in the pantry and jump out, grab his ankles, scare the bejeebies out of him. He loved it. I love stuff like that. So he loved it. And then when he was a teenager, it was payback time. And do you think I could complain about it? And he was way better than I was at this stuff. Do you think I could complain about it? Nope. I remember once he said, don't even think about complaining about this after what I did to him growing up. But my daughter, I never did any of that with. It just wasn't her. It scared her. She didn't like it. It scared my son, but then he'd laugh. He loved it. So they're all a little bit different, right? So they have the same rules, But yeah. Oh, you're asking about your nephew. I don't teach aunting or uncling. I only teach parenting. Because if I told someone how to deal with someone else's kid and the parent didn't like it, blah, blah, blah. Like, plus I don't parent, I don't tell other kids what to do. None of my business. I'll never tell my kids how to parent. None of my business. Yeah, other people's kids are none of your business, is what I'm saying. You know, it's just the bottom line. Like I've never told. If I'm babysitting kids alone, I know how I deal with them. Um, but yeah, I don't give advice to anyone but parents ever. Very careful about that because I teach parenting. Any advice how to help yourself from falling back into old parenting habits? I don't know why you would do that if the new ones are working. Because I know with my clients, they say it's really easy to keep this going because it works. So I can't. It's like saying to someone, and I already talked about this earlier. Like, how do I get myself to not react? That's like going to a diet center and saying, "How do I not eat cake?" Well, you don't. Like, I can't help you. I can't help you to continue. I can tell you what to do, and it's your choice. It's your body, your brain, your life, and whether or not you're going to do it. So, yeah, that's your choice, whether or not you're going to continue. So, yeah, can't really help you with that. I've been doing this for 17 years, and a lot of people ask me that. How do I not react? I said, well, I don't know. I can tell you what to do instead of reacting, but then it's up to you. You know, at some point, you just have to say, I'm just not going to do it anymore. I'm not going to fall back into that habit anymore. Or I'm not going to have that cake, or I'm not going to have that alcohol or those cigarettes. I quit smoking like 35, more than that. Anyway, long time ago. And I know people said to me, well, how do you do it? And I said, well, you just don't do it. It's hard though. Like it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy, but there's no magic bullet here. It's just, there's no magic pill you take. It's just hard. I remember I was working at the time, and I said to them, I'm going to be quitting smoking this week. So I'm just warning you, I don't tend to have a temper. I'm not a moody kind of person. But I said, just watch out. You know, I don't know what's going to happen. So I didn't get moody, but I did seem to cry a lot. And I remember they were saying, all I said was, good morning, Lisa. I started crying. What a nutcase. So I was giving up nicotine. It was hard. The reason I'm calm outside because people are watching and I just keep repeating to them. Yeah, I don't repeat. And you're calm when you're disciplining at home too. I'm very calm when I'm disciplining. I virtually whisper. Like if a kid does something wrong, this is how I talk. I'd say, didn't like that. Tell you what we're going to do. And then I impose the discipline. So I get very quiet when I'm disciplining. My son used to say, if my mom ever whispers, run, because that's when I'm laying down the law. So yeah, I get very calm, very quiet. Yeah, didn't like that. Tell you what, this is what's going to happen. Well, okay, my kindergartner, so kindergarten's 5 usually, is having behavioral problems only at school. Why could this be? 2 reasons. One is they're used to getting their own way when they're at home. So do you cater to them? And then school doesn't, of course, because they're one of many and they have to fit in. That's one reason. They might be spoiled and you might be catering to them at home. That's one reason. Or something's going on that they don't like at school. And you're going to have to figure out what that is and how to teach your child how to manage that. So you're not going to ask the teacher to change it because you don't tell them how to teach, but you're going to figure out what your child doesn't like at school. So are you spoiling them and giving in to all their demands at home? And then school's, of course, not going to do that. Or is there something going on at school that they don't like? It might be something little. Okay. Do you recommend timeouts? Oh God, no, I hate timeout. Yeah, I'm going to try not to rant on about it, but I absolutely hate timeout. I think it's mean. It's humiliating. I think it's terrible. But you go over there, you're not even worth talking to. You're a piece of garbage. Go sit in the corner. I just think it's horrible. I've never done it, never will. And I think it's awful. It would be like if you made a mistake at work, your boss would say, hey, you added that up wrong. Go sit in the corner. Could you imagine? How would you feel? Kids feel the exact same way. They can't articulate it, but they feel the exact same way. How do you handle stealing? The same way I handle lying. Just say no stealing or no lying, and then there's a consequence if they steal. There's lots of different reasons for stealing. I don't know how old the kid is, when it started, and what's going on. So that might be a coaching issue because that's kind of there's usually some underlying stuff going on with that. Timeouts for toddler 20 months old is a no. I hate I hate timeout. Can't stand it. Toddlers are all about consistent corrective actions. So yeah, just don't do timeout. It's awful. It's so mean. It's just mean. You discipline a toddler under the age of 3, they're toddlers, by consistent corrective actions. Every time they do something you're trying to correct, so pick one thing per week. Let's say they hit. Every time they hit, you say no, and then you take a toy away, take them away from the fun, or take the fun away from them. Every single time. It's got to be fast in the moment, though. Can't be 10 minutes later. It has to be right in the say no, and then do it. But you got to make it a project, and you will get over it. But they might go back to it. They might try it out again later on, but then they'll learn quicker the next time. Okay, so it's consistent corrective actions because they learn through repetition. No words, one word no, just to signify what's happening. The action's coming. That's all you're signifying there. But they're not about words. That's for you. All these mini therapy sessions that were, invented, they were just invented for the mom to make her feel good. Look what a good mom I am. I'm talking about feelings. I'm talking about self-regulating. It's just garbage. It's absolute crap. That's just feeding the mom's needs. Has nothing to do with the toddler. Nothing whatsoever. Advice on keeping a toddler in a shopping cart. Well, I had my kids tied in there. They have straps in there, like, the seat belts. And also I had the goodie bag. So they love shopping because every time they sat up in that cart, I had a goodie bag that they only ever saw when they sat up in the shopping cart. It was the shopping cart goodie bag. And I changed it out every time we went shopping. And it was all the dollar store, tons of little toys. I changed it out all the time, little drink, little treats. And they would just sit there. Plus they're eye level with me. So we'd talk and it was a bonding time. But yeah, and then as soon as they got out of the shopping cart, that thing went away again. They didn't get it till the next time they were sitting in the shopping cart. So the shopping cart goodie bag. They don't get it in the car, nowhere else. That's what makes it special. Plus, don't ever get your toddlers to help with groceries. Why would you? Because here you can help with the Kleenex and they put it away. And then you have eggs and then they'll have a tantrum because you're not handing over the eggs. They don't understand why they can't help with everything. So you're going to be selective with what you want them to help with. And then if you're in a rush, you don't want them to help. It's mixed messages. It's confusing for them. It's inconsistent. It's like you're lying. Sure, you can help out, but not with this. It's confusing. So don't get them to help. They don't need to help. They can sit there with their little goodie bag. Someone said to me in a question, I don't know if it was in a live or something, they said, well, when can they start helping with groceries? And I'm like, I don't know, when they're 7 or 8 years old and when they actually can. Like, I didn't even know how to answer that. They don't need to help with groceries until they're up walking and they're, they can actually help when they're able to help. How do I get my child to listen to me? I'm the one who stays home with them and they're starting. Just keep watching. I have a full course on that. I do these lives every day. And then you start to get into it. You start to understand what I'm all about. I teach leadership, and leadership is about showing respect to get it. Potty training my 2-year-old with your course. Oh, this is on YouTube. How's it going? Jacinia. How's it going? I'm curious. On YouTube, someone asked a question. I have a course on potty training in 2 days. I trained my son in 1 day. He never had night diapers, day pull-ups, nothing. And my daughter in 2 days. And it was really funny, though. After I trained my son, we were out grocery shopping. And I feel like I didn't finish something. What did I not finish? Oh, yeah. Just keep watching, and you'll start to get how to parent. Anyway, so and I'm pretty good at meeting their needs. Like, you always take a potty with you everywhere you go. So anyway, we're in the grocery store, and we're at the checkout. And my son had just been potty trained. He was 2.5. He'd just been potty trained. And we're in the checkout. The groceries are going on the belt. And he says, I have to go poo. And the checkout lady looked at me like this. I looked at her. I'm like, what do you do, right? And I said, what? I didn't know what to do. And I said, what? And he goes, I have to go now. And now that in Australia, where I raised my kids, the grocery stores are not independent standing places like they are in North America. They're inside a mall. Like you'll have to go inside a mall to get to one. So we were inside this big mall and the bathrooms were at the other end of the mall. So I just looked at the checkout lady. She goes, just go. We'll pack up all your groceries. And I was a regular there. So they said, just go. And I picked him up and I ran, and I hung him over a public toilet with a 2.5-year-old. Oh, anyway, I held him over the toilet and he went. I just made it. But yeah, motherhood. How classy is it? And when you're running with a kid to the bathroom, everyone knows what's happening. Anyway, I came back. All my groceries were all packed up for me. There was these other moms around laughing. Yeah, we've all been there. Okay, my daughter's 9 going on 19. I'm exhausted. No, she's not 9 going on 19, because when she's 19, then we'll talk. She's 9, she's modeling, she's masking, she's trying to act like she is. So anyway, yeah, she's a tween. She's just exercising her tweenhood. If you want my help with that, you might want to hire me for that. If you're exhausted, I don't know what's going on. So when you say she's going on 19, my daughter was 9 going on 19. She really was. She was so just never silly. Like she was born old. I was like that. I was always really responsible and just born old. So, but yeah, she was easy. So just because they, act maybe older or seem older doesn't mean that it's exhausting. So what you're saying to me is that she has an attitude, right? And that's something that you have to work on yourself with that. So, yeah, you might want to hire me with that. You can look at the course, but if you're exhausted, it's really driving you nuts, you might want to hire me. Okay, that's all in the link about there. How to handle repetitiveness OCD. My 3-year-old asks the same question 100 times and freaks out if I don't answer. That's not necessarily, my daughter has OCD. She didn't do anything like that. So I don't know if that's OCD or if he's just kind of pushing your buttons. Because OCD doesn't sound like OCD to me. But I could be wrong. But anyway, it's just disrespectful behavior. So you might want to check out my course. It just gives you an overall thing, how to set yourself up as a leader. It goes from 3 to 12 years old, and it's all about you, how to be a leader. So I'm suggesting you're not a leader, because a 3-year-old, repetitiveness, OCD, it just isn't adding up for me. I don't quite know what you mean by that. And freaks out if I don't answer. It doesn't sound like OCD. I know what OCD is, and it doesn't sound like it. I could be wrong. I'm not an OCD expert. And my daughter has it with worrying. She's a worrier. She has to make sure the stove's off. Stuff like safety. It's all safety. It's not with cleaning. I'm a cleanaholic. It's not with cleaning. Why couldn't you have got the OCD with cleaning? I'm not complaining. She's lovely. She was the easiest kid in the whole world. The son is safety too. Maybe he has OCD. Okay, you're gonna have to hire me for that, because that's more of a specialty. If he truly does have OCD and he's getting stressed out over you not answering, and he's not sure if things are done, even though they obviously are, you might want to hire me with that. And the only treatment that I've ever heard with OCD is immersion therapy, where they immerse into the, they hit it head on, they come at it head on, like. But yeah, you might want to, if you want to hire me for that. I don't know. I can't really answer that here on TikTok. My 2-year-old butt me for the first time. Butt me? I don't know. You must have meant hit me or something. I don't know. You can let me know. Toddlers just snack a lot, right? Don't want regular. Yeah. Toddlers are more grazers, not meal eaters. Okay, they want to snack throughout the day. But what I did with my kids, they ate pretty decent meals, but I would just sort of give them fruit and light stuff in between. I was very selective with that. So yeah, I didn't give them. And plus, I'm a health food nut, so my kids had choices: this healthy food or that healthy food. Yeah. So, but yeah, light snacks, and then they will eat more at meals. But they go in waves. They'll eat a lot for a whole weekend, and then they might not eat for a whole week much. Like, you know, because they go in growth spurts. You don't grow like this, evidently. You grow like this, like kids. My son grew. He was short. His sister is 5 years younger. She almost caught up to him. He was probably about 12, and she would have been 7 or whatever. But he was really short for his age. And then he was my height, 5'6", and I think he was 15. And then in 6 months, he went from 5'6" to 6 feet in 6 months. And he ate like crazy. And he wasn't a huge eater, but he ate like crazy. So they go in spurts. I'm a grazer. I'm not a meal eater. I was always like that. I never liked meals. I love eating a little bit all day. I love eating a lot all day. Okay, what are your views on sending a child to daycare at 1-year-old, and what do you think? I don't know. There's no jury out on that sort of thing. Like, is it good for them to have exposure to other kids and have daycare and, you know, be away from you and all that stuff? I don't know. If they're happy and healthy, I don't think it really matters what they're doing. You know, like I was a stay-at-home mom. My kids stayed with me all the time, and we were out and about all the time. So they were always out around other kids. I do think that's important, that they're around other kids. So we were always in play groups, seeing friends at play centers. We were always out every single day doing something. So I do think that's important. But whether or not daycare is more beneficial than that, they do tend to learn social skills earlier on, how to cope with certain situations. If you're not around to save them, you know, because in playgrounds, even in daycare, they might get knocked down in that. Whereas that wouldn't have happened with my kids. I was right there all the time. So they do tend to sort of jump ahead of the game with those types of social skills. But other than that, I think so long as they're happy and healthy and they're exposed to fun and lots of kids, and it's all good. Oops, time's up. I got to get going. Anyway, if you go in the link above, you'll see everything I've got to offer. You can hire me for coaching. It's all done on Zoom, one-on-one. Doesn't matter what country you're in. It's all done on Zoom. Anyway, and then I also have courses. I have a full boot camp on how to set yourself up as a leader. If you have a 3 to 12-year-old, that goes through everything, sex education, everything, all sorts of stuff, whole bunch of stuff thrown in there. And then also you can just get my free behavior board. That is also in the link above, and it teaches you how to give respect to get it by setting up rules and consequences, 1 per week. And you only go up to 3 behavior boards. By then, you're starting to understand all this, how to become a leader, how to give respect to get it. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow, and I never know what time, except on Tuesday nights at 7 and Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So we'll talk soon. Bye now.